The galaxy was full of noise. Fleets moved, planets traded, and thousands of species lived in their own worlds. But then, one message spread like fire across every star system. A warning. It was short and cold. No one ever returned after fighting humanity. At first, the message was taken as a joke. Many alien leaders laughed. How could a small species from a small planet be so dangerous? Humanity was young compared to the great empires of the stars. They had no ancient fleets, no millions of years of wisdom. They had only one blue planet called Earth. To most aliens, they were nothing, but not everyone laughed. Some remembered the strange reports, fleets that vanished after meeting humans, soldiers who never came home. The stories were unclear, but the fear was real. Still, one commander did not care about fear. His name was Xylar, leader of the Krail Dominion fleet. He was proud, tall, and ruthless. He had crushed many species before, and now he wanted to crush humanity. To him, this was only another campaign. Xylar stood on the bridge of his massive warship, surrounded by dozens of screens and glowing maps of the stars. His fleet of 200 ships floated behind him, each armed with powerful weapons. His officers bowed and waited for his command. Humanity, Xylar said, his voice sharp. A small enemy, a short war. We will destroy them, and the galaxy will see how weak they truly are, his fleet cheered. They believed victory was certain. The journey to the Sol system, the home of Earth, took weeks. As the fleet moved closer, silence fell. The humans had not answered any messages. They had not tried to stop the invasion. No threats? No surrender. Only silence. It was strange. Most species begged for peace before a war began. But humanity said nothing. When the fleet finally arrived at the edge of the solar system, the alien officers stared at the screens. Planets glowed in the distance. The sun burned bright. Earth was only a small blue dot, fragile and alone. Is this the mighty enemy? One officer whispered. They look weak. Xylar smiled. Yes, weak. Prepare the attack. But then something unexpected happened. One of the screens lit up. A face appeared. Not an alien face, but a human face. It was a woman in a dark uniform, her hair tied back, her eyes sharp and cold. She spoke slowly, every word clear. You have entered human space. Leave now. The bridge grew quiet. None of the aliens expected such calm words. Xylar laughed. You dare threaten us? With 200 ships, we could burn your planet in a day. The woman's expression did not change. She only leaned closer to the screen. And yet, no one ever returned after fighting us. Do you wish to learn why? Her words cut through the room like a blade. Some officers shifted uneasily. The stories came back to their minds. The rumors, the warnings. Xylar growled. Enough of this. Signal the fleet. Move forward! The alien ships spread out, forming attack lines. Engines burned bright, weapons powered up. The fleet was ready to crush the humans. But then another strange thing happened. Human ships appeared. At first, only a few, dark shapes slipping out of the shadows of space. Then more, then dozens. They moved silently, without sound or signal, like hunters waiting for prey. Their designs were strange, not grand or decorated like alien ships, but sharp, practical, and deadly. One officer gasped. Commander, they were already here. They were waiting. Xylar's smile faded. For the first time, doubt touched his mind. The human woman's voice returned. You came to fight us. Now you will learn. And then the battle began. The aliens fired first. Beams of light and fire filled the void. Explosions shook the darkness. But the human ships did not fall. They moved fast, faster than anyone expected. Their weapons cut through alien armor like it was paper. One alien ship exploded, then another, then 10 more. Xylar shouted orders, but nothing worked. The humans struck from every angle, vanishing into the black of space and reappearing where no one looked. It was like fighting ghosts. Impossible! Xylar screamed. How can they fight like this? But there was no answer. Only the cold silence of ships breaking apart one after another. On every screen, officers watched in horror. The mighty fleet of 200 ships was being torn apart in minutes. The proud warriors who once laughed at humanity now screamed as their ships burned. Xylar's heart pounded. He had fought 100 wars, but never like this. The humans fought with precision, with intelligence, with something more terrifying than weapons. They fought as if they had done this 1,000 times before, and maybe they had. The woman's voice returned one last time, echoing across the broken fleet. No one ever returns after fighting humanity. You should have listened. The screens went black, and in the cold silence of space, the alien fleet was gone. The silence after the first attack was heavy. Where once 200 alien warships had stood proud, only broken pieces of metal drifted through the cold blackness of space. The Krail Dominion fleet, the pride of their empire, was almost gone in minutes. Xylar, the alien commander, stared at the empty screens on his bridge. His officers avoided his eyes. None dared speak. They had seen something no one had ever seen before. Humans fighting not with numbers, but with perfect skill. Still, Xylar was not ready to admit defeat. His ship was one of the few still alive. Around him, maybe 20 ships had survived the human strike. He gritted his teeth. "We are not finished," he growled. "We will strike back." But deep inside, fear had begun to grow in him. The humans, meanwhile, did not chase. Their ships floated quietly, forming a wall between Earth and the broken invaders. They waited, like predators watching a wounded animal. They did not rush. They did not speak. They only waited. Xylar slammed his fist on the console. "Signal the survivors. We attack together." The surviving ships formed a rough line. They were fewer now, but still strong compared to most enemies. Beams of energy lit up the dark as they charged toward the humans, and again the humans answered. The human ships moved like dancers in the void, twisting and sliding through alien fire. Their weapons glowed with a deadly light. One human ship fired a single shot, and an alien cruiser split in half. Another ship released a storm of missiles that curved and twisted like living things, striking perfectly on enemy weak points. The aliens fought hard. They poured fire into the humans, shouting and screaming as they tried to overwhelm them. For a moment, it looked like they might push through. One human ship was hit, its armor cracking, fire spilling into space. Xylar roared. "Yes, they can be hurt. Press harder!" But the humans did not panic. Instead, 3 of their ships moved together, covering the damaged one like wolves protecting their pack. They blocked every strike, returning fire with such speed that 2 more alien ships vanished in explosions. The damaged ship slid back into formation, shielded and safe. It was not only technology. It was discipline. It was unity. The humans fought like one mind, every move timed, every strike perfect. Xylar's officers whispered to one another, "This is impossible. How can they fight like this? They are too young, too small." Xylar snapped, "Silence! Fight!" But even his own hands trembled. The battle raged. Alien ships burned one by one. The humans took damage too, but every time they adapted. Their weapons shifted, their formations changed. It was as if they had already prepared for every tactic, every trick. The alien fleet tried stealth. They cloaked their ships, hiding in the shadows. But the humans found them. Sensors lit up, weapons locked, and the cloaked ships exploded before they could even strike. They tried overwhelming numbers, sending all survivors in a single rush. But the humans split them apart, pulling them into traps, surrounding them until each ship fell alone. Xylar's mind spun. He had fought for decades, but he had never seen an enemy like this, these humans. They did not just fight battles. They predicted them. It was as if they already knew the Krail Dominion's every move. His second officer turned to him, eyes wide. "Commander, maybe the stories are true," Xylar snarled. "Stories?" The officer swallowed. "The stories say humans are born for war, that their history is full of battles, endless battles, that they never stop fighting, even each other. Maybe that is why no one ever returns." For a moment the bridge was silent. Even Xylar could not deny the thought. The humans fought as if war was their natural language. Another explosion shook the ship. The screens showed only 15 alien ships left. Then 12. Then 10. Xylar's claws dug into the console. His pride screamed at him to fight. His instincts whispered for him to run, but there was no escape. The humans began to close in. Their ships moved in a wide circle, trapping the survivors in the center. It was not a wild attack. It was slow, steady, like a net tightening around prey. Xyler's breath grew heavy. He looked at the human flagship on the screen. The same woman appeared again. Her calm eyes met his. "You should have left," she said. Xyler shouted at her, his voice shaking. "Why? Why are you so strong? What makes humans so different?" The woman tilted her head slightly. "Because we do not fear war. We are war." And then the trap closed. The human fleet fired together. Light filled the void, brighter than any star. The last of the alien ships burned away in seconds. On Xyler's bridge, alarms screamed. His officers panicked, running from console to console. The ship shook violently as fire spread through the walls. Xyler fell to his knees, his vision blurred. His last thought before the darkness swallowed him was not anger, but confusion. How could such a small species destroy so much? And then silence. The first clash was over. In the galaxy beyond, other species listened to the reports. The mighty Krail Dominion fleet had vanished. Not one ship returned. Not one soldier came home. And the old warning grew louder, carried on every channel, whispered on every world. No one ever returned after fighting humanity. The galaxy was restless. The fall of the Krail Dominion fleet spread across every system faster than light. Traders whispered in marketplaces, smugglers spread rumors in hidden bars, and rulers of empires sat in their high towers listening with heavy silence. 200 ships had gone to fight humanity, and not one of them had returned. Many dismissed the stories. They said the Krail commander must have been careless. They said humans got lucky. But others remembered the cold voice in the warning. They remembered the stories that had always existed in the shadows. Humanity was not like other species. On Earth, the humans did not celebrate. Their fleets returned in silence, their ships sliding back into orbit like shadows, hiding in the dark. To them, the victory was not surprising. It was expected. Humans did not build their defense on hope. They built it on history. Inside a command center deep beneath Earth's surface, a human admiral studied a screen showing the wreckage of the alien fleet still drifting near the edge of the system. His face was calm, his eyes cold. Around him, officers spoke softly, updating lists, reviewing losses and preparing reports. The admiral finally spoke. "They will come again, stronger, they always do." A young officer frowned. "But sir, we destroyed them." "Shouldn't that make them afraid?" The admiral shook his head. "Fear makes enemies foolish. Foolish enemies come again. We must be ready. The humans were always ready." Far away, in the capital of the Krail Dominion, chaos boiled. Families of soldiers screamed for answers. Politicians argued in chambers. Some demanded revenge, others demanded peace. The Dominion leader stood before a council of warlords, his hands shaking with anger. "How can this be?" he demanded. 200 ships destroyed by a species barely 1,000 years in the stars. One warlord spoke cautiously. Commander Xyler underestimated them. He thought them weak. Perhaps. "They are not," the leader snarled. "You sound afraid." The warlord lowered his eyes. "I'm not afraid, my lord. I'm careful." "There is a difference." The leader dismissed him with rage, but the words sank into the room. If humanity was not weak, then what were they? To learn the truth, the Dominion sent spies. Silent ships slipped across the stars, crossing into human space, hiding in the dark. They moved slowly, cloaked with the best technology. No one noticed them, or at least they thought no one noticed. One spy ship landed on a forgotten moon, near the edge of human territory. Its crew watched through powerful lenses, studying a human outpost. The outpost was small, just a cluster of buildings with antennas and weapon towers. It should have looked simple, but what the spies saw was strange. Humans trained day and night. They fought each other in endless drills, hand to hand, in groups, with machines, with weapons. Even when tired, even when bleeding, they stood again. It was not just practice. It was obsession. One spy whispered, "They train as if war is part of them." The others nodded silently. They began sending reports back to the Dominion. But the messages never reached their home. Somewhere in the void, their signals disappeared. Their ship was never seen again. Back on Earth, the humans had already found them. The spies never even realized. The Dominion sent more, faster ships, hidden better, moving deeper. None returned. Each vanished without a trace. The leaders grew furious, demanding answers, demanding proof. But the more they pushed, the less they understood. It was as if the humans were always one step ahead. Among the galaxy's other empires, fear grew. Stories spread of how humans had survived their own history. They had destroyed themselves in wars, yet rebuilt stronger each time. They had faced disease, hunger, fire, ice, and death, but always rose again. While other species had lived in peace for ages, humans had known nothing but struggle, and in struggle, they had learned something no one else understood. The secret of humanity was not their ships, nor their weapons, nor their numbers. The secret was that they never stopped fighting. Even against themselves, even against the universe, they fought. And through endless war, they had become masters of survival. The Krail Dominion did not believe it fully. Pride blinded them. They began to prepare a larger fleet greater than the first. If 200 ships had fallen, then they would send 500. If one commander had failed, they would send 5. But whispers filled the galaxy. Whispers that 500 ships would only mean 500 graves. In the command center on Earth, the Admiral stood again, watching the stars. A message came in from deep space. Scouts reported new movements, Krail ships gathering, building, preparing. The young officer looked at the Admiral with worry. "Do you think they will come again, sir?" The Admiral's lips pressed into a thin smile. "They will, and they will not return. Just like the last." His eyes narrowed on the glowing stars. He knew what others had not yet understood. Humanity did not fear larger fleets. Humanity did not fear greater numbers. To them, every new enemy was the same. Every battle was another lesson. And every war only made them sharper. In the silence of the galaxy, humans waited. Their weapons were ready, their soldiers trained, their minds prepared. The galaxy thought they had discovered the secret, but in truth they had only seen the surface. The deeper truth was darker, for while other species fought to win, humanity fought to survive. And survival made them unstoppable. The spies were gone, the first fleet was gone, and the second was coming soon. And in the quiet dark of space, a single phrase echoed again, spoken by humans and whispered by those who feared them. No one ever returned after fighting humanity. The galaxy held its breath. The Krail Dominion had been humiliated once, but now their shipyards burned day and night. 500 warships were built, each stronger than the last, each painted with the mark of vengeance. The Dominion promised their people that this time humanity would fall. The galaxy listened with doubt, for already the warning had grown louder. No one ever returned after fighting humans. In the dark of space, the humans waited. Their fleets did not move, their leaders did not boast. They trained quietly, prepared quietly, and built quietly. There was no celebration of victory, no arrogance in their silence. They knew better. War was not a song to them, it was survival, and survival never ended. When the second Krail fleet finally arrived at the edge of human space, it was like a storm. 500 ships glowed against the blackness, their engines burning, their weapons primed. The Dominion commander, Lord Venar, stood tall on his bridge, his voice echoing across his fleet. "Today," he declared, "we erase the stain of our defeat. Today, humanity learns fear." His officers roared with approval. 500 ships against a single young species. It had to be enough. But then the silence came again. The humans did not answer. No threats, no cries, no diplomacy. Their space was empty, quiet as if waiting. Venar sneered. "Perhaps they hide. Perhaps they are cowards after all." But he was wrong. As the Krail fleet advanced, their sensors picked up strange signals. Shadows flickered across their screens. Unknown readings danced at the edges of their scanners. Their ships searched, but nothing was there. Or at least nothing they could see. The first ship vanished without warning. One moment it was flying in formation, the next it was gone. No explosion, no fire, just gone. The fleet froze, alarms screaming. Venar shouted for answers, but none came. Then another ship vanished. Then another. Whispers spread through the alien crews. They are here. They are hunting us, and indeed they were. The humans had perfected a new strategy. Silence. Their ships struck like ghosts, sliding out of the dark, unleashing death and vanishing again. They jammed alien communications, cut through scanners and blinded sensors. Every alien felt it, the terrifying truth that they were not hunters in human space. They were prey. On one ship, a Krail officer screamed as human missiles tore through their shields. He begged for help, but his signal was cut, swallowed in static. His ship spun into fire, lost in the void. Lord Vaynar's pride began to crack. He tried to rally his fleet into tighter formations, tried to force the humans to fight openly. But every time he ordered a move, the humans already knew. They struck before his ships even finished adjusting. It was as if they could read his mind. How do they know? He hissed, his claws digging into the command rail. The answer lay in humanity's long history. Every move the Dominion made, humans had seen before. In ancient wars on their own world, in countless battles against each other. Every trap was familiar, every tactic predictable. What was new to the aliens was old to the humans. The silent war lasted days. The Krail ships tried to hide, to spread out, to regroup. But no matter where they went, the humans found them. In the endless black human fleets moved like shadows, never seen until it was too late. One by one, the mighty 500 fell apart. Alien soldiers spoke in terror. They are everywhere. They see us even when we hide. They strike even when we run. Ships burned without warning. Crews screamed into silence. Whole squadrons disappeared without a trace. Lord Vaynar grew desperate. His bridge shook as explosions lit the void around him. He ordered full retreat. Back to Dominion space, now. But the humans did not allow it. They closed the exits, cutting every escape path. Human ships appeared in lines, like a net cast across the stars. The Dominion fleet was trapped. In that moment, Vaynar realized the truth. It was not numbers that mattered. It was not weapons or power. It was something far more dangerous. The humans had learned to turn war itself into a weapon. They fought not for glory, not for conquest, but because survival was written into their blood. One by one, the last of his ships were silenced. Fire filled the stars. His officers cried out, but he had no answers left. His pride, his empire, his fleet, it was all gone. Before the end, a voice reached his ship. The same human woman appeared on his screen, calm and sharp-eyed. Her words were cold but not cruel. You were warned. No one ever returns after fighting humanity. The connection cut, and the flagship vanished into flames. When the silence fell again, the galaxy trembled. The second fleet had gone, just like the first. 500 ships lost to the void. Not a single survivor. Other empires listened in fear. The message was no longer rumor, no longer myth. It was truth. Humanity could not be beaten. To fight them was to disappear. And yet even in fear, some wondered. If humans fought so well, if they destroyed every enemy who came, what would they do next? Would they stop at defense? Or would they one day turn their eyes outward, beyond Earth, beyond survival? For now, the humans waited. They said nothing, sent no message, made no boast. But in the silence, their presence grew larger, darker, more terrifying. And in every corner of the galaxy, the same whisper was repeated again and again. No one ever returned after fighting humanity. The galaxy was no longer the same. 2 great fleets of the Krail Dominion had gone into human space, and none had returned. 200 ships had vanished, then 500 more. Every empire, every race, every trader and mercenary now spoke the same words in hushed voices. No one ever returned after fighting humanity. But pride is a heavy chain, and the Krail Dominion could not break free. Their rulers refused to accept defeat. To admit weakness was to lose their empire. So they chose one final path, a last stand. In secret shipyards across their systems, the Dominion forged a new fleet. It was the largest armada they had ever built. 8,000 ships, each equipped with the strongest weapons, the fastest engines, and the heaviest armor their science could create. They called it the War Hammer, A fleet meant to crush humanity once and for all. The Dominions spread their message across the stars. Humanity would be destroyed, their homeworld burned, their people erased. Some empires believed the boast, others shook their heads, but all watched closely. For if humanity could not stop 1,000 ships, then perhaps they were not the legends people feared. On Earth, there was no panic. The humans had heard the whispers of the new armada. They knew it would come. In hidden bunkers and deep command stations, their leaders prepared. Soldiers trained harder, ships were upgraded, and weapons were sharpened. But there was no cheering, no shouts of confidence. One human general said it best: "This will not be victory. This will be survival." And survival is what we do best. When the Dominion fleet arrived, the stars themselves seemed to vanish behind their ships. 1,000 vessels stretched across the void, a wall of firepower no species could resist. Their commander, High Lord Karath, stood proud on his flagship, convinced this was the moment of glory. "Humanity will fall," he told his fleet, "and the galaxy will forget them." But humanity had not forgotten. At first, the humans did not attack. They let the fleet enter their system. They let them approach the orbits of their planets. The aliens grew confident. They laughed at the silence, believing the humans had lost their courage. Then the humans struck, from hidden bases on moons and asteroids, from black ships buried in the void. From stations cloaked in shadow, the humans rose. They were not many compared to the 1,000 ships, but they did not fight like others. They did not rush in. They did not waste fire. Each shot was placed perfectly, each strike aimed at a weakness, each move planned long before the battle began. The Dominion roared back, their weapons lighting the blackness like suns. Dozens of human ships burned. Whole formations vanished. For the first time, humanity bled heavily. But they did not break. Every time a ship was lost, another filled its place. Every time the aliens thought they had broken through, the humans shifted and trapped them again. Their fleets bent but never snapped, like iron forged in endless fire. Karath watched with fury. "Why do they not fall?" "We have them outnumbered 10-1. His officers trembled. One whispered, "Because, my lord." They fight as if numbers do not matter. The battle raged for days. Alien fire tore through the skies. Human defenses cracked, but still they fought. The Dominion pushed closer to Earth, closer to the blue planet that was the heart of humanity. They believed victory was near. Then the trap closed. Human ships that had been silent for days lit up across the system. They had hidden their reserves, their heaviest weapons, waiting for the perfect moment. Now they struck, surrounding the Dominion fleet from every side. Mines exploded across their path, cutting escape routes. Missiles rained like storms. Panic filled the alien ships. Their formations broke. Commanders screamed into dead channels. One by one, their ships fell into fire. On his flagship, Karath realized the truth. Humanity had been willing to bleed, willing to sacrifice, willing to suffer, just to draw them deeper into the trap. No other species would have fought this way. No other species could, he whispered to himself. They do not fight to win. They fight because they must. His flagship shook violently as human weapons tore into its hull. The screens flickered, alarms screamed, and officers fled. In his final moments, Karath saw a human face appear on his monitor. Calm, unshaken, unbroken. The human voice was steady. "You were warned. This was always how it would end." And then the flagship was gone. The 1,000 ships of the Dominion vanished into silence. None escaped. None returned. The galaxy was changed forever. The last great fleet of the Dominion had fallen, not against an empire of millions, not against gods or monsters, but against humanity. The small species from the small blue planet had done what no one believed possible, and across every star system, the legend grew. Traders whispered it, soldiers repeated it, rulers feared it. The words were simple, but they carried the weight of truth. No one ever returned after fighting humanity. The war was over, but the echoes did not fade. Across the galaxy, the fall of the Krail Dominion's Grand Armada spread like fire through dry grass. 1,000 ships had entered human space, the largest fleet ever built in the stars. Not one had returned. Merchants carried the tale to trade hubs. Soldiers carried it back to their barracks. Rulers heard it whispered in their halls. Even the most distant colonies at the edge of the galaxy repeated the same words. No one ever returned after fighting humanity. At first, some called it rumor, a story made larger by fear. But then, the wreckage of Krail ships began to drift across neutral space, blackened hulks torn apart, lifeless bodies frozen in the cold. The proof was undeniable. Humanity had not only won, they had annihilated their enemy. The Krail Dominion, once proud and unshaken, now sat in silence. Their throne world mourned. Families wept for sons and daughters who would never return. Entire planets felt the weight of loss. Their leaders spoke of rebuilding, but their voices shook with doubt. Even their rivals, who once hated them, did not mock them, for they too feared the truth. Humanity did not celebrate. On Earth, the people grieved for their own fallen. Soldiers returned home with scars, ships limped back to dry dock, and families lit candles for those who would never walk through their doors again. But behind the grief was a quiet strength. They had faced the largest armada in history, and they had survived. Survival was their victory, yet the galaxy did not see grief or humility. The galaxy saw something else, an unbreakable force. Humanity was no longer the young species from a small blue world. They were warriors, strategists, survivors who could not be crushed even when outnumbered 1,000 to 1. On distant worlds, councils gathered in secret. Some argued that humanity must be destroyed before they grew stronger. Others warned that to attack them was to invite the same fate as the Krail. A few suggested alliances, believing it wiser to stand beside humans rather than against them. The fear grew with each passing day. Small pirate fleets vanished when they strayed too close to human borders. Raiders never returned. Even powerful empires kept their distance. In the dark corners of the galaxy, myths began to form. Children were told stories of humans who fought like shadows, who could not be defeated, who waited patiently in silence before striking. Traders swore they saw human warships hidden among the stars, silent and watching. Entire planets began to believe that humans were no longer just flesh and blood, but something more, something inevitable. A single word began to rise among the stars: inevitable. For humanity, the whispers of fear were not planned. They did not seek to be monsters or legends. They only wanted to survive. But in the galaxy, survival itself was seen as power. And power drew attention. The Council of Eresh, an ancient empire of scholars, sent envoys to Earth, hoping to understand humanity before war broke out again. They came not with weapons, but with questions. Why had humans fought with such fury? Why had they not surrendered when outnumbered? Why had they not surrendered when outnumbered? Why had they been willing to sacrifice so much? A human diplomat answered simply, because surrender is the same as death. And we will not die. The words spread, carried on recordings, repeated in countless tongues. To many it sounded like defiance. To others it sounded like a warning. The galaxy began to shift. Trade routes bent around human space. Alliances were redrawn. Armies began to study human tactics, though none could truly copy them. And in the shadows, empires built fleets knowing one truth: if they ever crossed paths with humanity, the fight would not end with surrender. It would end with silence. On Earth, leaders watched these changes with sharp eyes. They knew peace would not last. Fear might keep enemies away for now, but fear also bred hatred. Sooner or later, someone would try again. In the quiet of a war room beneath the surface of Earth, a general stood over a map of stars. The galaxy has seen what we can do. They will not forget, but they will not forgive either. They will come again, another replied, calm and steady. Then we will survive again. That is who we are. And so humanity prepared, not for glory, not for conquest, but for the storm they knew was coming. Their soldiers trained. Their scientists built new weapons. Their fleets expanded. They did not boast, they did not spread fear, but the galaxy still trembled, Because in every corner of the stars, in every empire and council, one truth had become unshakable. No one ever returned after fighting humanity, and perhaps no one ever would.